Jungle Treasures, a Southeast Asian folktale. The people of Bharat. Once on the edge of the jungle, there was a village called Bharat. The people who lived in this village were shy and very timid. They hated to travel far from home. They always felt awkward talking with people from other places. Tall trees around the village. Large orange fruit grew near the trees, the fruit that looked as if it would be sweet and juicy. But the people of Bharat didn't like how it tasted. It was so sour and made their lips pucker. They named it sour fruit. The villagers liked one another kinds of tree. The trees they liked were sapwood trees. The villagers used the raisin from sapwood trees as a fuel. They burned the raisin in the lamps. This meant they could sit and talk by the lamplight in the evenings. Unfortunately, sapwood trees grew all the way over to the other side of the jungle, living in darkness. One night, the people in Bharat ran out of raisin. The last of their lamps flickered and then went out. "What will we do now?" one villager asked. "One of us will have to go on a long journey to find more sapwood trees," another decided. "I'll go," a young man volunteered. After 3 days of walking through the jungle, the young man arrived at a village called Timur. What he saw there gave him a terrible surprise. People with axes were gathered around the largest sapwood tree. The villagers were about to cut down the tree that produces the most raisin. The man from Bharat was alarmed. "Stop!" he said furiously, running towards the villagers. "What are you doing? You can't get rid of these trees." "These trees are useless," said the man from the village. "Yes, we voted and agreed to cut them all down," said another. "And you shouldn't interfere in the affairs of our village," added a third. "But the people from my village use the raisin from sapwood trees as fuel," said the man from Bharat. "If you cut them down, we'll have to sit around darkness every night." Chapter 3. Very Useful Trees. The villagers of Timur were very surprised by this news. The man from Bharat agreed to show the people Timur how to collect the raisin from the sapwood trees. The people of Timur agreed that the man from Bharat should take a Timur woman back to his village. Then she could see for herself how useful sapwood trees really were. The next day, the young man from Bharat and the woman from Timur set off together. 3 days later, the pair arrived at the village of Bharat. But what the woman from Timur saw there was a terrible shock. People with axes were gathered around the oldest sapwood tree. The villagers were about to cut down the tree that produces the most fruit. The woman from Timur was alarmed. "Stop!" she said fiercely, running down the villagers. "What are you doing? You can't get rid of these wonderful trees." "These trees have sour fruit," said the woman from the village. "It falls to the ground and rots. Then it creates a smelly mess," another woman added. "So we decided to cut the trees down," added a third. "But the sour fruit are so useful. My people cut the fruit down and dry it in the sun," said the other woman from Timur. "Then we put it into our cooking and add flavor. Sour fruit trees only grow on this side of the jungle. If you cut them all down, we won't be able to cook our tastiest dishes." Chapter 4. Working Together. That night, the woman from Timur put on a big feast for all the people of the Bharat. She included dry sour fruit and many of the dishes she cooked. She showed the villagers of Bharat how to prepare the meals using the fruit. The fruit was laid out on the long tables. The tables were lit with lamps fueled by raisins from sapwood trees. The whole event was a big success. "The food is delicious," declared the man from Bharat. "It's so nice not to sit around in the dark," said a woman from Timur. We must attempt to talk more often, said the man from Barat. I agree, said the woman from Timber. The villagers decided they would not cut down a single tree. The people of Barat started putting dried sour fruit in their cooking. The people of Timber began to burn raisins and lamps at night. In this way, the two villagers worked together to solve their problems. What were their solutions? They added sour fruit for raisin, and vice versa.